If you're an international medical graduate applying for jobs in Australia and you keep getting rejections and silence, these are the 9 mistakes that might be stopping you from getting your dream job. I want you to hear this very carefully. It's probably not your clinical knowledge, and it's definitely not that you're not good enough. I have seen incredibly talented, hardworking, intelligent doctors with an amazing portfolio, brilliant experience, but still they get stuck for months or even years, and the reason is usually not obvious. In this video, I am going to share 9 mistakes that IMGs make when applying for medical jobs in Australia, the hidden ones that nobody explains properly, and exactly how to fix them. If you're serious about getting into the system, then stay until the end, because the last points are the difference between someone who eventually gets in and someone who burns out and gives up. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Mistake number 1, and probably the most important one, not understanding the Australian healthcare system. The single biggest thing that holds most of the IMGs back is not the exams, it's not the clinical knowledge, it's not the experience, it's actually not understanding how the Australian medical system works, what are the dynamics and what is expected from you. And this is probably the only difference between you and an Australian medical graduate. You've got the clinical knowledge, you've got the experience, you have cleared probably one of the most difficult exams in this world. Most of you have worked in high-pressure environments with way more responsibility than probably even a registrar here. What you're actually missing is how Australia does things. Now, this includes how the clinical situations are approached, what's the Australian way of writing a CV and addressing the selection criteria, how the interviews are run, what's the communication structure, how is the documentation written, and basically what hospitals are expecting from you when they hire a junior doctor. When the employers are reviewing applications, they can immediately tell whether someone understands the system or not. If your CV, if your selection criteria, your cover letter, and your entire application is screaming overseas, then definitely your chances to be selected are way lower. Very expectedly, once you start operating at the level of an Australian graduate, there is absolutely no reason that you won't be hired, apart from luck, of course. So the bottom line is that you really need to go all in trying to understand how things work in Australia, what is the Australian way of doing certain things, how do you prepare an application, how do you basically display yourself that you do not look very different to the Australian graduate, because that's probably the only thing that is holding the IMGs back from getting hired. And to be honest, these are also the only things that are under your control. You can always work on yourself, you can always upskill, improve your CV, improve your communication skills. But as far as the visa status is concerned, that is number 1, not under your control. Number 2, it is not that big of a deal. Hospitals in Australia are very used to sponsoring visas to overseas doctors, and if you are the right candidate, they'll sponsor for you as well. So it's really nothing to be focused on, to be honest. And I think I'm very confident that if you learn the Australian ways of doing things, if you portray yourself as a safe, credible, good doctor that can work well in the Australian system, there is absolutely no way, absolutely no barrier that is stopping you from getting a job, and you will get it one day very soon. And this brings us to the second mistake, that is not preparing a good CV. Your CV is the gateway. If your CV is weak, then nothing else will matter. If your CV doesn't match the local standard, it might not even be shortlisted, no matter how good you are, no matter how experienced you are. I will not go into further detail on how to write a good CV that stands out and immediately catches the attention of the recruiter, because I've already published an entire detailed video about CV writing. The link is in the description box below, so do check it out. Okay, now mistake number 3, and something that is massively overlooked: poor selection criteria. Selection criteria are one of the most underestimated parts of the application, and this is where most of the IMGs go wrong. I was recently reviewing an application of one of my juniors back in my home country, and she had addressed the selection criteria in the most generic way possible, like simple vague statements like I'm a dedicated team player, a very enthusiastic, hardworking doctor. Now, things like these are definitely not going to work when it comes to addressing the selection criteria in your application. Now, when it comes to addressing the selection criteria in your application, and basically wherever they want you to demonstrate something, what they're expecting from you is to give a clinical example from your own clinical experience and present it in a STAR format: situation, task, action, result. Now, most of the IMGs are not aware of this, and rightfully so, because these information are not readily available. So it's your job and your responsibility. If you're applying for a job in Australia, you need to know all these things, because this is the only thing that will actually get you a job. And I honestly believe that selection criteria is even more important than a CV. And it's giving you an opportunity to show your personality, to outshine, and to stand out, because you definitely have a richer clinical experience than most of the local graduates. If you want me to come up with a dedicated video on how to address this selection criteria properly, do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll hopefully come up with one. Mistake number 4, weak interview skills. Alright, now you've made an amazing CV, you've perfected your CV writing skills, you've nailed your selection criteria, and your application has finally been selected for an interview. Now, this is your only chance to get into the system. Well, definitely not only, you're definitely going to get more interviews once you perfect your CV and selection criteria, but every interview you get, it is your responsibility to treat it as the only chance in getting into the system. Interview slots are maximum 10 to 15 minutes. So you basically just have 15 minutes to outshine and impress your employer. Now, this really means that you need to understand how the interviews are run in Australia. What are the interviewers expecting from you? How do you need to present yourself? What sort of questions will be asked? They can ask you clinical questions, conflict situations, dealing with a difficult patient or a difficult colleague, clinical prioritization, multidisciplinary teams. So bottom line is that you need to be aware of all of these things so you're not messing it up, because things are quite different in Australia, and the secret is that you need to understand the system, and once you're done with that, you'll definitely ace the interview given your communication skills are on point. Just to give a little example here, so if the interviewer is asking you a clinical case scenario about chest pain and you immediately dive into the different management options, you're unfortunately not going to make it, because it's a very structured system here. So for every acute deterioration or every clinical case, you have to start with the A to E assessment, and that's the standard. Now, if you're not answering questions in a proper structure that is expected of you, you will definitely lose marks, and naturally also lose the only opportunity that you got to get into the system. Mistake number 5, underestimating communication skills. Communication in Australian hospitals, and generally everywhere in the world, is probably the single most important thing that will decide whether you'll become a successful individual or not. How do you smartly communicate with the nurses? How do you coordinate with the allied health and the multidisciplinary teams? How do you break news to the patients? How do you develop a rapport with the patients? Are you able to impress the consultant? And to begin with, are you able to impress the interviewers to even land a job? This includes clarity, your tone, empathy, how to deal with conflict situations, knowing when to ask for help, and knowing how to respectfully disagree. So strong communication skills will definitely take you through residency and through life basically, It's one of the most important long-term investments you should make in yourself and try to perfect your communication skills. Now moving on to mistake number 6, applying too narrowly. Now, if you're only applying to metropolitan hospitals because you are really fixated on not relocating to any regional area, you're doing a big mistake, because the competition is really tough in metropolitan hospitals and your chances of getting in are low. Now, if you're only applying to regional hospitals because you think that metropolitan hospitals have a very tough competition, that's another big mistake, because it's definitely not about competition or metropolitan or regional or rural. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. So whenever a hospital needs a doctor and there's a vacancy, they will hire whoever is the most suitable candidate at that time. So the bottom line is just to apply everywhere, use all the resources, all the job boards, apply in every state, because your first job is often the hardest to get, but once you're in the system, things will get easier and then you can move wherever you basically want. And this brings me to mistake number 7, not accepting junior roles, letting pride block your entry. If you're a senior with years of experience behind and you're being offered a junior role, my honest recommendation would be to accept it. It's definitely not a downgrade, it's a bridge. You're still very new to the system. You should try and learn how things work here. What are the hospital dynamics? What's the hierarchy system? How do we deal with the nurses? So a junior role to start with is probably the perfect thing that you can do to yourself. And once you're in the system, like I said, the next year will be easier, and then you can apply for your whatever role that you're looking for. Hospitals here value reliability and progression, and responsibility comes pretty quick once you prove yourself as a responsible, safe doctor. Mistake number 8 is not networking and not following through. A lot of international medical graduates, that they'll just put in applications and the system will eventually just pick them up. But unfortunately, that's not how things work. You really need to network harder. You should be attending seminars, you should be attending Zoom sessions, you should be very active on all the social media platforms and try to connect with Australian doctors, consultants, registrars, do observerships, and try to develop a rapport and a good understanding with your seniors so you can have a good reference later on. And once you're done with your interviews, do not just leave it like that. Always follow through, send them emails. It's not about being pushy, it's just about being engaged, visible, and coming up as very interested. So basically just keep networking. You never know which conversation, which interaction, which email will actually open the door for you, and those rarely open in isolation. And now coming on to the final mistake, and honestly the most dangerous one, giving up too early. The process is definitely long and emotionally very draining, and constant rejections can make you question your worth. But the truth is that a rejection in this system is not a verdict, it's feedback. So take it as constructive feedback and continue to improve your CV and continue to improve your application. So when you start this journey, you really need to make a shift in your mindset and basically be ready for rejections, failures, and understand that this is all a part of your learning, it's all a part of your character building, and with every application cycle, with every passing day, you're learning new things, you're improving yourself, you're upskilling, you're improving your communication skills and basically everything that comes with it. And one day when the time is right and the stars align, you'll definitely get a job. People who succeed are not the smartest or the luckiest or the most intelligent. They are the ones who keep going and refuse to stop. You literally only lose when you give up. And if you stay in the game long enough, keep working hard and stay persistent, there is absolutely no way that you will not get in. So if you take away one thing from this video, let it be this. Most IMGs are not failing because they are not good doctors or they're not smart enough. They're being rejected because they haven't fully understood the Australian medical system yet, and they are not presenting themselves in a way that aligns with it. So the rule is simple, and it is to understand that Australian hospitals are not rejecting IMGs. They're basically rejecting applications that don't look, sound, or act as Australian. And the moment you start presenting yourself at the level of an Australian graduate in your CV, in your selection criteria, in your communication skills, in your interview, there is absolutely no logical reason that will stop you from getting that job. Everything else, visa stress, self-doubt, rejection emails, that's all noise. Focus on alignment, focus on improving yourself, and results will follow. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want more content around AMC and the Australian healthcare system.